good, but it's just going to go in the 40s. In the 40s. Not bad. Not the 20s. We set to go?
You're good to go.
I'm good to go.
I'm going to let you know that I may not participate much. I've got to put together today's slideshow. So I'll do that for you.
Ah, okay.
I'll do my best.
Then we'll depend on the 6 that are here. Yes. Okay. Those prayed upon. We're in 57. We'll possibly get through 58 today, which leaves us about 10 chapters, which isn't much. We're probably about 6 weeks away, roughly. So, the righteous man perishes, and no one takes it to heart. And devout men are taken away, while no one understands. For the righteous man is taken away from evil. He enters into peace. They rest in their beds, parenthetically, graves. So, last chapter we had was talking about Jesus coming, right? This is a change. So, again, it's another shift in the time frame that I believe Isaiah is talking about. So, we'll talk about that as we go through it. But in this one, why does nobody pay attention to the death of a devout man to a devout man being taken away? Why do you think that is what it is? Didn't have anything to talk about? Okay.
Misery and hate loves company.
Yeah.
Try to him and he calls more misery and hate.
Yeah. Yeah. Misery and hate loves company. If everybody around you, if you're trying to follow God, everybody around you doesn't care about God, hates God, would they pay attention to you? No. You're unimportant. What you believe is unimportant to us, totally irrelevant.
Pay attention enough to get rid of you.
Yeah. As long as you don't have any money or anything like that, you have a view that a world view, or a religious view, or a life view that is totally foreign to what we have. So what if you're dead? I don't care. You got anything left that I can pick up now that you're dead? Take away from you? So what's the majority of the people's perspective? What do you think it is? And what do they value? The righteous man is taken away from evil. So what would evil look like for those people?
The opposite of the righteous man.
The opposite of the righteous man. If this is in the time frame that I think it's in, and it's in the time frame of before they were taken into captivity in Babylon, what was it like? What did it become like? People turned to God, turned away from God, turned to paganism, infant sacrifice, all those things. Okay, so they were pretty deep into sorcery and all kinds of things. What's God's perspective of the devout? We tend to look at death one way, but in verse 2 he says, enters into peace. In other words, the devout man now goes into peace. He's out of this mess. He goes into peace. Evildoers rebuked. So that starts out that chapter with just 2 verses, and then it goes into the evildoers. But come here, you sons of sorcerers, offspring of an adulterer and a prostitute. Against whom do you jest? Against whom do you open wide your mouth and stick out your tongue? Are you not children of rebellion, offspring of deceit? So, what have God's people sought? And why does it refer to them as sons of sorcerers, adulterers, prostitutes? Morning. What are they seeking? What are the majority of the people seeking in Judah and Israel? If it indeed is the time before Babylonian captivity. Yeah. Whatever's right in their own eyes, who are they worshiping? What are they worshiping? Huh?
Sticks and rocks.
Yeah, rocks and sticks. Basically idols that are made of stone, idols are made of gold, idols are made of silver, idols are made of wood. Whatever they thought they could make their own idol that lives up to it. An adulterer or a prostitute, what does that refer to?
Marrying the Gentiles.
Yeah, the prostitute part of it is, or the adulterous part of it is you've left your first husband, which is God. You now have gone to these false gods. So you were married to me. Now you've gone off to them. You're an adulterer from a perspective, of religious perspective. How about sorcerers, sons of sorcerers? What are they into? How prevalent?
They're believing, I think,
The-
in things that really aren't real.
Well, how prevalent were demons?
Very prevalent.
Okay.
Still are today.
Not to what they were then. That was the chaining that went in when Christ rose.
Today we call that Hollywood.
Yeah, today we call it Hollywood. But then you had the man at Gersenes that Christ threw out the demon. You had other people that Christ threw out demons and things like that. So you had all those. Did I get the word right? Was it Gersenes?
Yeah, it's like, is that the place or the people?
The place. It was the place. It was around the Sea of Galilee. Yeah. So you had a lot of that. What happened when, what a necromancer, I guess it was a sorceress, brought back Samuel for Saul. Okay? That was sorcery. So they were into sorcery, and there was enough power that Satan had that he could do things because of that sorcery. So what would that be? What worship would that be?
Idol worship.
That'd be devil worship.
Devil worship.
Okay, so that's what they were into.
They were into sorcery because they thought it would control their future.
Give them something they wanted for themselves. Yeah. Make them powerful.
See the future.
Who are these people teasing and ridiculing?
Jesus.
Nope. This is not that time frame. If this is in before the Babylonian captivity, it was the Jews in Israel and also in Judah. And you missed the first verse. Who's the first and second verse talking about? The devout man. So who are they sticking their tongues out and ridiculing? The devout man. How are they offspring of deceit?
Share it with friends.
Yeah, they're recruiting everybody and deceiving them to say, this idol can defend us. This idol can give us what we want. And it was a stick or a rock or some metal. It had no power at all, but everybody believed it. This is a powerful God.
There's always evangelism, it's not just for God.
That's true. There's always people recruiting them to what they want. Moving on. Who inflame yourselves among the oaks, terebinths, they're kind of a big tree, under every luxuriant tree, who slaughtered the children in the ravines, under the clefts of the crags. Among the smooth stones, symbols of fertility gods, and the ravine is your portion. There your lot. Even to them you have poured out a drink offering, and you have made a grain offering. Shall I relent concerning these things? Upon a high and lofty mountain you have made your bed. You also went up there to offer sacrifice. So, what are the people doing among the oaks and in the ravines? Where were most of these idol sticks, poles? Huh? They put them up on the high hilltops and the high spots and everything like that. That's where you have Baal. That's where you have Asher. Asher was usually the wood. Baal would have been a stones or rocks or something like that. But they had Molech. They had all those. Moloch. What was Molech famous for? The idol god Molech. Human sacrifice. Okay. He was a bull. Looked like a big bull. And one of the sacrificial, if you want to call it an altar, that I saw it had like hands out like this, and it was a big bull. And it had an opening here, and you built the fire. There's a furnace underneath it. And you could put the child there, and then they had a mechanical thing that tossed the child in the fire. That was Molech. That's why you see Molech referenced in different parts of the Old Testament. It talks about how detestable Molech was to God. So in the ravines, they're sacrificing. Among the oaks, what was one of the main acts of worship that they had for the idols? They're sexual acts. They had prostitutes there in the different temples that they had to the idols. So that's the things that is going on with the people of God. Okay, we already talked about who they're offering sacrifices. They're offering sacrifices to pagan gods, to sticks and stones and metal and stuff like that. Behind the door and the doorpost, you have set up your sign. Indeed, far removed from me, you have uncovered yourself, and you have gone up and made your bed wide, and you have made an agreement for yourself with them. You have loved their bed. You have looked upon their manhood. You have journeyed to the king and oil and increased your perfumes. You have sent your envoys a great distance and made them to go to Sheol, the netherworld. You were tired out by the length of your road, yet you did not say it is hopeless. You found renewed strength, therefore you did not faint or become sick. So, what's Isaiah referring when he talks about behind the door and the doorpost? Yeah, you did these things in secret. You didn't think I knew. I knew everything you were doing. What does it mean you have journeyed to the king with oil, sent your envoys a great distance? What did God warn them not to do regarding foreign people?
Don't marry, don't go into contracts with them, don't make treaties with them.
Don't make treaties. Remember, when we started this study, we studied all the how they had been taken. Israel was worried about the country north. I'm sorry, Judah was worried about Israel and Aram. Aram is just north of Israel. They were teaming up to go through Ephraim and invade Judah. So Judah made a contract for protection with who? You remember? Assyria. Protect us from Aram and protect us from Israel. And what did Assyria end up doing? Yeah, first thing they did was they captured Aram. Then they captured Israel. And next they were going to capture Judah. So they didn't protect him. But he says, don't make those ones. If you remember, and this is going forward, so they didn't learn our lesson after Babylon. They went and made a treaty with the Romans because of the Seleucid Empire. Seleucid Empire was the one that was controlling Judah just before Christ, probably about 50 to 100 years before Christ, actually. So they didn't make a pact with God, they made a pact with Rome. What happened with Rome? The exact same thing as what happened with Assyria. They didn't learn their lesson. They didn't depend on God. He said, don't do that. He said, don't send your envoys to go buy foreign influence and to go do that. Depend on me. And he said, that's what you're doing. It's exactly what I told you not to do is what you're doing. Of whom were you worried and fearful when you lied and did not remember me, nor gave me thought? You did not set it upon your heart. I was not silent, even for a long time, so you did not fear me. I will declare your righteousness and your deeds, but they will not profit you. When you cry out, let your collection of idols deliver you. But the wind will carry them all up, and breath will take them away. But he who takes refuge in me will inherit the land, and I will possess my holy mountain. So, how simple is the motivation or the thinking of God's people? What indicates that what they're thinking is really foolish? But was I not silent even for a long time? So you don't fear me? They think, oh, God, save us. And he'll come running. That's their simple thinking. Oh, if the idol doesn't do, oh, God, you'll come in here and save the last day. We don't have to worry about it. If we're worshiping you, not you, the people who do worship you, we ridicule, we take their stuff and like that, but you won't do anything about that. They got the right idea of God? Not even close. It's not what he wants. He says, I'm not going to protect you for that. Huh?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, Isaiah is trying to warn them.
He's trying to tell them that you're going in a direction, that you're going away from God, and God is telling you that's not the way you want to go. And when you go that way, you're going to have to depend on those sticks and those stones that you call gods. And they're not going to protect you. They're not going to do a thing for you. And I'm going to let you be taken. And it's exactly what he did. He let the people of Israel be taken. He let the people of Judah be taken, except for Jerusalem, who was dedicated to God. And when it finally got bad in Jerusalem, then he let Jerusalem be taken. And that was been taken by Nebuchadnezzar. So you can kind of see the people have worked towards that particular direction. And they're big in pagan worship. In Christ's time, they weren't so much big on pagan worship. They were big on power worship for themselves, money. But that's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about idol worship. You're welcome. So, you had the difference between one segment of the people and another. In the beginning of this chapter, it was the devout man. But most of this chapter has been dedicated to the people who are idol worshipers. God's people who have gone away from God. They don't fear God. They don't respect God. And they've gone to these pagan ones. And they've gone into all the acts that you have to worship pagan idols. Big time. And it will be said, build up, prepare the way, remove every obstacle out of the way of my people. For thus says the high and exalted one who lives forever, whose name is holy. I dwell in a high and holy place, and also with the contrite and the lowly of spirit, in order to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite. For I will no longer contend forever, nor will I always be angry, for the spirit would grow faint before me, and the breath of those whom I have made. So he's wrapping up this chapter here to say, but it's not always going to be this way. So what's the reference to being build up, prepare the way? Is something God will do soon from their point of reference? Because he just changed his tenor. Could be, it's not clear because this is really very close to the end of this chapter. Because most of this chapter has been dedicated to talk about those who were worshiping idols and like that. Build up, prepare the way could be Christ. I don't think it is, but it could be. Build up, prepare the way could also be the return from Babylon, where they're both building things back up again after Nebuchadnezzar didn't leave one stone on top of another. He destroyed everything. Even the foundations he plowed up. The temple's foundations were gone. The walls were scattered all over the place. So I think it may be that, but it's something that he's going to do. I don't think it's going to be as soon as they think, because this is Isaiah, and it's later in Isaiah's writings, so it'd probably be about 100 to 150 years before they take it into Babylonian captivity, which would mean it'd be about 250 years before they're taken, or 220 years before they're out of Babylonian activity. So it's not soon from God's, it's soon from God's perspective, because 250 years is nothing. But from our perspective, it seems like it's way off. And they don't see it. Who does God say he's going to dwell with? The righteous. Yeah. Lowly of spirit, humble, humility, contrite, the contrite heart, the repentant heart, the person that when they do something wrong, they're hurt by it, not by the people that are following after idols. He says, those are the people that I dwell with. Those are the people that dwell with me.
It's similar. Some of the description is when Jesus said the Beatitudes, blessed are these people. And it's similar there.
Yes. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the humble. You know, that's what he's saying. And that's what Isaiah is writing from God here to say. And that's the consistency of God, isn't it? Okay? He's after the humble. He's after the contrite, the people who are repentant, the people that want to worship him, the one that genuinely from their heart and from deep within their own selves wants to worship God. Not, huh?
Hunger.
Yeah, hunger for God, hunger for the living water, hunger for the bread from heaven. That's what he wants. That's the person he responds to, not to the person that gives him lip service. We'll get into that maybe. It's in here, but we'll get into that maybe. Okay. Because of the iniquity of unjust gain, I was angry and struck him. I hid my face and was angry. And he went on, turning away in the way of his heart. I have seen his ways, but I will heal him. I will lead him and restore comfort to him and to his mourners, creating the praise of his lips. Peace, peace to him who is far and to him who is near, says the Lord. I will heal him. So this is kind of the same thing to say, I'm going to eventually heal him, but it's going to get rough before I heal him. Who's the him? It is lowercase.
The non-believers?
Yes. It would be the people of God. His nation, I believe, is what he's talking about. So if it is pre-Babylonian captivity, what's he eventually going to do, and how will he do it? How will he bring the people to become humble, to give up on their gods that they have? What will he do?
Captivity's going to cleanse it.
Captivity will cleanse it. Captivity will make them humble. Captivity will say, these gods that we prayed to didn't do a thing for us. They let us take it into captivity, be broken up. Remember when they were taken in from the Assyrians, when they were taken in from the Babylonians, they got spread out throughout the empire. Okay, they got sold out as slaves. They knew what it was to be a servant and not to worship those idols, because those idols didn't do a thing for them. But the wicked are like the tossing sea, for it cannot be quiet, and the waters toss up and refuse in mud. There is no peace, says my God, for the wicked. So he's closing out this chapter. What awaits the wicked? No peace. No peace. Evildoers rebuked. We did get to 58. Okay. So, cry loudly, do not hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet and declare to my people their transgression and to the house of Jacob their sins. Remember when we just studied throughout Isaiah, when he refers to Israel, it's the people that are faithful. But when he refers to them as Jacob, he refers to the people who are worldly. Same people, the descendants of Jacob, but when he refers to them, the descendants of Jacob, they're worldly. If he refers to them to the descendants of Israel, which God renamed Jacob too, it's the ones that are faithful. So there's a distinction. Yet they seek me day by day and delight to know my ways, as a nation that has done righteousness and has not forsaken the ordinance of God. They ask me for just decisions. They delight in the nearness of God. So what perspective did people take with respect to God's relationship? True, but in verse 1 it says, and to the house of Jacob their sins. And he's referring to them as Jacob. So, remember I said lip service? They're doing lip service. They still have their pagan gods. But they're still going through and he says, raise your voice like a trumpet, cry loudly. Remember when Elijah was competing with the prophets of Baal? And they had their competition. And there was 300 of them? And they made the fire, and they had everything set up for the fire. And they were praying to their God, and they were cutting themselves, and Elijah says, why don't you just cry out loudly, and you need to wake your God up, and everything else like that. I think that's kind of a little bit what Isaiah is writing here, is to say, cry loudly, do not hold back, raise your voice like a trumpet. Like that. Do you have to raise your voice like a trumpet to God for God to hear you? No. So this is a little bit kind of picking at him a little bit to say, you think that's going to do you any good? The way you've been acting, the sin that you have? A nation that has done righteousness. What do you think is the current state of the nation? And notice that has done righteousness.
Yeah, past tense.
It's a past tense verse. Because we were righteous in the past, you're going to do this for us. It doesn't say who is righteous. It says has done righteousness. Which takes us into the next. So why do they ask for God's decision? Do they intend to do it? If they don't like it? They're going to do whatever they want anyhow.
They got nowhere else to go. And you see, future looming, there's nowhere else to turn. The idols aren't working either. So.
No, the idols aren't working. But so we'll try this one. But it's in it, and this one kind of may tie back to us. What's the last thing they do? Everything's going wrong and like that, and they try and take care of themselves and like that. What's the last thing they do? Go to God. Sometimes we try and handle everything ourselves, and the last thing we do is, we got to go to God. Why have we fasted and you do not see? Why have we humbled ourselves and you do not notice? Behold, on the day of your fast, You find your desire and drive hard all your workers. Behold, you fast for contention and strife, and to strike the wicked with the fist. You do not fast like you do today to make your voice heard on high. It is a fast like this which I choose, a day for a man to humble himself. It is for bowing one's head like a reed, and for spreading out sackcloth and ashes like as a bed. Will you call this fast even an acceptable day to the Lord? So why does God not respond to their fasting? How's that different than when God responded to the people of Nineveh after Jonah's warning from God? So let's go back to that one. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. Why? Huh?
Fear.
Hate. Well, the people were evil, and what was Nineveh? Man, that didn't want to come out. I don't want to break it. Wait a minute. Just got something.
That'll get you through.
I got a green light. There we go. Okay. So Nineveh was the capital of Assyria. Assyria was the one who took Israel and Judah into captivity. They were the ones who conquered the lands all around the country of Judah and Israel. So they hated the people of Assyria because of what they had done, because they took them in captivity, because they took away their land. And Nineveh was the capital. So, of course, Jonah would hate them. He would not want to see them. But those people, when Jonah went through and says, you're all going to die in a day. God's going to wipe you off the face of the earth.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled to death. I'm going to get up on this hill and sit here and watch it, you know? And what did they do? They fasted, the sackcloth, and everything like that. But why did he respond to the pagan Gentiles fasting and putting on sackcloth and ashes and not respond to his people? Why the difference?
I think because maybe the people of Nineveh saw that Jonah was being honest, was telling the truth, because God had warned him. And I think they had a sense of that.
They had a sense. They knew the God of Israel because and this is before the captivity. Okay, this is before the captivity. But you had people who said, we genuinely are sorry. We genuinely want that God to like us. We genuinely understand how evil we've been, and we want to change. And we know we are helpless against this God. People of Israel that were fasting and like that, he says, why have we fasted? You did not see. God says, I'm not even looking at you anymore. You've gone so far away from me, I'm not going to respond to that. Because you're doing it and you're going through the motions. You're trying to follow a script that manipulates me to do what you want. And I'm not going to listen to it. I don't care about you. You're going to suffer a fate because I'm the God of armies. And I'm going to send these armies against you to get you humble, to put you in the right perspective. But it's going to be a couple hundred years. So what did the people refuse? What did they not change? They did the sackcloth. They did the ashes. They did the fasting. And what did they refuse to change? Their heart. The fast that God responds. So that was the fast and everybody like that. He didn't respond to that. But the fast that he responds to. Is this not the fast which I choose? To loosen the bonds of wickedness, to undo the bands of the yoke, and to let the oppressed go free and break every yoke? Is it not to divide your bread with the hungry and to bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, you cover them, and to not hide yourself from your own flesh? So what attitude is God seeking? Those who seek, how do you seek it? There were 2 commandments that Christ said were important.
Love God and love our neighbor.
Yep. What's he saying there in verse 7? Love your neighbors. Do good. What are they right now doing to the people who's hungry? They're not feeding them. They're taking away their food. They're taking away their money. They're doing all. They're preying on their own people. The homeless and the poor.
Provides the sheep and the goats, this is what he says. I
Yeah.
was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me.
Yeah. He's saying what you're doing right. This is what I will respond to the people who do this, and to have that attitude that says, "Love thy neighbor as you love yourself," because they didn't. They loved themselves, and who cares about my neighbor? I'm going to take advantage of it because I love me. They were selfish. They were interested in only themselves.
You can't buy yourself a way into heaven through
No, you can't. And what they were trying to do was they were trying to, I don't know, like a snake oil salesman. They were trying to sell God to say, "Oh, we're so devout to you," and everything like that. But the point is to get God to do what they wanted him to do, which was to protect them against the Assyrians, and it would be against the Babylonians. It wasn't because they wanted to serve God. It wasn't because they wanted to draw near to God. It's because they wanted to manipulate the God. And that goes kind of from the idol worship. When the idol worshipers worship an idol, why are they doing it? Because they want something out of it. They want to cajole, fool, convince that particular God that it should give them something to them. And they'll give them their child. They'll give them whatever they can give them to get what they want. And what God is says, I'm looking for somebody who wants to approach me and be with me and loves their fellow man enough to take care of them. So that's the contrast that's going on here that Isaiah is talking about, is to say, you guys have been, by and large, are approaching me totally wrong. All your fasting, all those things that you do is just lip service. It's not real. You don't really want to draw near to me. You just want me to get me to do something. You're trying to convince me to do something. And so we're going to stop on this particular verse and leave the rest of this chapter for Doug next week.